Hey, it's Pete Thorn. Welcome to my home and welcome to another Wednesday Q&A. This is where I answer the questions that you ask me by sending me an email to my Facebook music page. Go to facebook.com/guitarnerd, send me an email there and I will get to your question in one of these Wednesday Q&As. Now, I've been trying to go faster and faster and answer more questions so I can get caught up. I don't know if I'm succeeding, but I'm trying. So I'm going to get right to it. Gianluca wants to know, this is probably one of the most common questions I get, what drums do I use? But he also asks about the bass that I use in my videos. So drums I've covered a lot. It's a Stephen Slade drums plug-in, fantastic drum virtual instrument plug-in. It sounds just great. I use it with some of their included grooves as well as grooves I've gotten from companies like Groove Monkey, and I think I got some from Loop Loft, as well as Slam Tracks. So all those companies make MIDI grooves. You can load them into the Stephen Slate drums groove browser, and then when I'm going through to start writing a song or something, I go through and pick out some of those MIDI grooves, string them together into a song. Occasionally I do programming of fills and things like that myself, where I'll change like the hi-hat pattern or the kick drum pattern. But using a great drum virtual instrument plugin such as Stephen Slate drums, and then some grooves that are all sort of ready to go. It's a real streamlined way to get some great sounding drum tracks without having to program in every beat. So that's what I recommend there. And I also use a lot of UA plugs and stuff to kind of put UA plugins to process the drums, and I process them like a real drum kit with EQ and compression and stuff, and make them sound like real drums. There's some mixing involved with the drums for sure. Nobody's ever asked me about my bass. My bass is over 10 years old. It's an old Mexican precision bass that I bought, Mexican-made precision bass. I bought at Guitar Center. I used to borrow basses whenever I needed one for a track that I was working on. And I got tired of doing that one day, and I just ran down the hill. I was living in Hollywood, ran down in the Hollywood Hills, went down to Guitar Center, picked up 5 or 6 basses off the wall that were all in my price range, which was around like $450 or something, and I picked up this cheap Fender Precision bass, and that's my bass, and it's always been, and it plays great. It sounds good. I think I've changed strings on it once, so it's probably way overdue for another string change. Still got the hang tag on the headstock, and it's ugly, and I don't really care. It works good and sounds cool. Okay, next question's from Jerion Steffer. He's asking about my pedal board, the main pedal board that I use on tour. He was watching that video I made back in 2012. I did another one in 2014 as well. That's sort of a more updated version of my pedal board, although it's changed a lot since then as well. The version in 2014 had the new Musicom Lab Mark IV loop switcher on it, and that's what his question is addressing. So he's saying that I have very limited loops and switches at my disposal. So I need to make some compromises here and there. Well, it's actually a really full-featured switcher. I mean, there's 8 loops. The new one I have is actually 10 loops, and the ones at the very end of the chain are stereo. So it's that's lots of loops to me for pedals. But anyway, maybe you like a guy that uses a big rack or something with a ton of pedals. So what compromises did I make to make things instantly accessible? Well, okay, on the Musicom Lab switchers, you need to hit a button to get out of preset mode into instant access mode, which will allow you to instantly access all of your pedals and turn each one of them on and off within a preset. So that is a bit of a compromise, but I just got used to it. There's basically 3 button pushes involved. Yeah, the Musicom Lab starts up in preset mode. You push this button once, and that kicks it into instant access mode, where you can get from loops 1 through 8, and then the next button push I can get loops 9 and 10, and then some instant access switches that I've got programmed for control change functions, and those do things like channel switching my PT100 amp, turning on and off the boost, and things like that. And then when you hit that main switch again, it takes you back into program change mode. So you just have to get used to kind of toggling that switch and where you want to go, relatively quickly. Now, you don't really need to do that in practice very much, because if you just make presets for everything, you kick a preset and then it turns on whatever pedals you want, and it's all good. It does whatever amp change stuff you want. And then if you need a different sound within a given song, you just make another preset and just hit the next preset button. And that's what I do like 95% of the time. But occasionally I do want to access a pedal within a preset. And then I'm just used to using that mode access switch, and it's not really that big of a deal. Now some of the pedals on my pedal board are not in loops. All the stuff that's MIDI switchable, such as the Timeline, the Mobius, and both H9s from Eventide, those don't need to be in loops because you can MIDI switch them, and you can have them true bypass if you want to. You can put all those pedals into a true bypass mode. So no reason to really put any of those in a loop. So that's what's going on. I've got all my drives, and fuzz, and all that stuff running in front of the amp, and they're all in the loops on the Musicom Lab. And then those 4 pedals I just mentioned, the Timeline, Mobius, and both H9s, those are not in loops. They're getting switched by MIDI. Dick Lyle wants to know how I set up the clean channel on my PT100 when I'm demoing distortion pedals, because he likes the tone that I get out of it. He's got an early 2008 custom audio version of the PT100. Generally what I do is I have the crunch off and the bright switch off. The bright switch greatly affects many drives and fuzzes on any amp. So you know, for sort of the most neutral to clean tone, and yeah, kind of just, you know, straight up honest sort of clean tone, I would leave the bright off and leave the crunch off. I've usually got the bass down around 3.5 or 4, the mids right on 5, and then I run the treble up around 7 or 8, something like that. Sort of much like you would run a vintage blackface Fender style amp, EQ wise. You know, you kind of run the bass lower and run the treble up a bit if you don't have the bright on, generally. That's what I find. So that's about it, really. And I just kind of set it for right on the edge of breakup, or just below. Lately I've been running it a little cleaner, actually. I've been trying to run it a little cleaner, especially in the videos, because people sometimes complain, oh, his clean tone isn't quite clean. So I set it a little bit cleaner just to sort of appease those folks in the videos. Quincy from the Netherlands says, why won't I make a video with the amazing Ian Thornley and demo some suhr stuff? There's a couple suhr demos out there. Yeah, he just likes the videos that I make, and he wants me to do more demos of suhr stuff. Let's put it that way. There's so many suhr demos I've done. For the Bella, the PT100, multiple demos. There's, you know, videos out there of me demoing the Thornbucker pickups, as well as the Riot, the Shiba drive, the original Riot and Shiba, not the reloaded versions. The Corso, the Hedgehog. Those are just off the top of my head, and they're all on my channel if you want to check them out. But I've done a lot of videos for suhr and their products. SL68, I've done multiple demos of the SL67. Yeah, so just dig a little bit deeper into my channel and you'll find all of those videos. Andrea asks a question about overdrives and distortions. My opinion on the Bogner Blue pedal and the Vemuram Rage E. These are 2 pedals that I can tell. I get a lot of questions about certain pedals, like, what do you think of this pedal, that pedal? And you know, the reality is, actually I haven't checked out many of them because there's so many pedals out there. People maybe have a misconception about me that I've played every single pedal or something, but I haven't. But these 2 I have, because I've had them both on my pedal board for touring recently. So the Bogner Blue is great. I really like that pedal. This is a kind of a, you know, just a natural British sort of distortion or light overdrive. Anywhere from light overdrive to kind of light distortion. It doesn't get real dirty, but if you've got the gain max and you have it in the 20th anniversary mode, and certainly if you have the boost on, you can get it into kind of classic rock gain solo territory for sure. And I really like it. I think it's a really good sounding pedal. So it's, yeah, if you just kind of want to do sort of a Plexi or JCM 800 set for a medium gain kind of sound, it's really good at that. Let's see here, and the Rage E, okay, from Vemuram. Now that is a sort of more a distortion pedal, and the way I have it set up is actually with the gain quite low on my pedal board, and I use it for like a light distortion sound. So on my PT100 channel 2, I've got it set on about 5, the gain usually, which is a fairly, you know, it's got a fair amount of gain when it's set on 5. I set up the Rage E to be a little less gain than that, as though it was like the PT100 set with the gain on like 2.5 or 3 or something, for like a light distortion sound. It's got a very, very similar character to the channel 2 on the PT amp. That's what I find. And I run the Rage E into channel 1 and set it like that. So yeah, kind of a light gain distortion. The Rage E works just great. Now I haven't used it in practice a lot at higher gain settings, but I'm sure it does that really good as well. I don't know, you know what I mean. It's just a really nice pedal. It's got a boost in it, and the boost is quite subtle, I find, but it does kick up the you know, gain and the volume a little bit when you turn on the boost. Next question comes from Kenny Birch. He's been playing guitar a long time. He says about 45 years. He's 61 years old. He's gravitated towards using the Axe FX 2 XL in the last few years. He says he's tried everything that's come down the pike, and he just really likes the Axe FX 2, and he knows I've used it as well. And his question is basically, why am I not exclusively using the Axe FX 2 for all of my demos and songs? He basically wants to know, like, yeah, why I just haven't totally moved towards the Axe FX. So I've used the Axe FX a lot. First thing I'll say, I've used it on tour, used it in numerous sessions. I've used it as my only device, where it's just like a direct device. Did it like on tour with Melissa Etheridge like that for a couple tours. And I've used it in a rack as my effects unit. So like in the effects loop of my PT100 amp, did that for a long time as well. So I've got a long history of using the Axe FX, and I think it sounds great. I mean, it sounds better and better with every firmware update. It really does. That new Quantum firmware, well, it's not that new, it's been out a year or something, but the Quantum firmware really sounded excellent to me. So I've got a signature amp, number one, with suhr. I was able to design that thing from the ground up, and that's pretty special. So I love using it. I love tube amps in general because they're just fun. And as good as all the modeling units are, tubes I think will always be fun for me. I don't know, I just like amps, I like knobs, I like tubes, I like that instant adjustment factor. They're loud, they're a good time. I don't know how else to describe it, really. One thing about the modeling units is they are a little bit tougher to adjust things on, like you want to get right to the feedback on the delay. Well, I guess there's knobs that you can program to do that sort of thing, but you know what I mean? It's like, here's a Korg SDD3000 I'm checking out. There's a knob right there that lets me go to, the mix and the feedback and stuff. It's really smart that they designed it like that. I love that aspect of it. Just because of the nature of modeling units, because they do 20 million different things and stuff like that, there's more menus to page through and stuff like that. It's just a little bit more complicated. So that instant sort of access thing I love about pedals and guitar amps. You can just get to them and turn something, get a result right away. So, but that has no bearing on the main thing, which is that modeling units have come a long way. They sound terrific. I'm using the Axe FX, I'm using the Helix, I've got a Kemper sitting right here. They all do something cool, and they're all really good time. So, great tools, and I like to just utilize them all. I will say this, the modeling camp, the question is interesting to me, because it's like I could have gotten a question from somebody saying, like, why don't you exclusively use a Fender amp? Because I bought a Fender Twin and I love it, and I'm wondering why you don't use one. And that's kind of like with the modeling guys, there's this like sort of partisan thing where they get it, and I totally respectfully to Kenny, because he's not like saying anything, I don't think, he's just wondering honestly, like, why don't I use it? Because he's really passionate about it. But the modeling folks that have gone all in, and that's what they do, like the Axe FX or the Kemper, and that's their rig. They tend to get really passionate and kind of partisan, and it's almost like it's politics, and they argue like their answer, it can be, is the right way, Once again, I'm not saying that about Kenny, but there is just this passion for it, and I find it interesting. I don't know what that is, Folks get together on the forums and they kind of defend each other's opinions or argue with one another, and it gets kind of heated sometimes and stuff. Mark Cornell has a good question, although he asked it a long time ago, and this was relevant to a gig that he was going to play the coming weekend when he sent this, so sorry I didn't help you out right when you needed the help. But he said that he had to use a house amp at a gig coming up, it's a Vox AC15. Any advice on how to get a good drive sound out of one of these? The main thing with a Vox is, I think, try not to use the top boost channel, which can be difficult because sometimes the normal channel can be quite dark, but the top boost channel with drives can be a little gnarly sometimes. It's like very, very touchy, and some drives will work, but a lot of them won't. So the normal channel on an AC30, however, sounds pretty glorious with most overdrives. So that would be my main thing, is run the normal channel. I have an AC15 hand-wired, and the normal channel sounds very dark with the bright switch off on it. I turn on the bright switch and it sounds great, even with drive pedals. And for some reason, the top boost channel, it's like a different type of bright circuit, and it does that kind of like really, really over-the-top bright fuzzy thing with a lot of drives. So yeah, just try running the normal channel on any AC15 or AC30. And that would be my recommendation. See if that doesn't get you the tone that you need. Okay, next question is from Kenneth Svensson, and he wants to know, he likes the concept of recording electric guitar with an SM57 and a Royer 121, but if you can't afford the Royer mic, because they're up around $1,000 for a little more, what would be a good alternative? Two good alternatives off the top of my head. I use the VR1 from SE Electronics, and I think they're around $700, so that's quite a bit cheaper, like $500 cheaper at least. It's a really, really nice sounding ribbon mic, very natural. It's got a nice extended top end. It'll take up to, I think, 140, 150 dB. It's basically made to stick in front of a guitar cab. I noticed the other day my buddy Steve Stevens is using them live with Billy Idol. He's got one on his main 412 cabinet. So that's a nice endorsement. It's a really, really good sounding microphone. So check out the SEVR1. Another one that's popular, I know Michael Britt, a fellow that makes a lot of Kemper profiles and stuff. He likes the Fathead. Not sure who makes that mic, but if you Google search Fathead ribbon mic, it'll pop up. I think it's even less money. So both of those I would check out. Javier says on my pedal board he's noticed that I've switched my second H9 for a Line 6 M5, and that's not true. I never did that. So he says, should I forget about getting two H9s and get an H9 and an M5? I don't know where you would have seen that. I didn't do that on my pedal board. So yeah, I've always had, at least the last 3 years, I've had two H9s. But the M5 is a good unit. I was doing a Tim and Pete's guitar show with Tim Pierce yesterday, and he's got an M5 on his pedal board as well as an H9. And he likes the M5 a lot. It's a really good sounding unit as well. So it's just up to you. You got to try them both, and you might be better off with an M5 and an H9 than two H9s actually. Next question is from Wilbur. He wants to know what 5 songs would I put on a short list to learn note for note that help me take it to the next level in terms of becoming a better musician. I would say learning some Beatles songs. I'm not going to pick 5 songs, but learning some Beatles songs is invaluable because it's just so interesting how they and learning how to sort of try at least hum if you can't sing the melodies while you're playing the guitar parts, because that's how you put a song together, and that's kind of the most important thing to me. But as far as just the guitar goes, off the top of my head, learning solos by Gilmour, like Comfortably Numb or something, that's going to teach you how to really speak through the guitar and say something melodically. I think that would be a really cool thing. You might be into punk rock, or you could be into prog, so it's just really hard to say. I would say just gravitate towards things that really resonate with you, and then try and figure out what's going on with that music. Some of the songs that really resonate. If it's Van Halen, just work towards being able to play those solos, and with Van Halen, the rhythm parts. So okay. Let's take a song like I'm the One, for example. That is a really, really hard song to play correctly, and 95% of guitar players that I hear play it do not play it right. As far as the swing goes, they don't have the feel. They get the fingering positions and the notes under their fingers, but they don't. It's all kind of actually in the right hand, a lot of it. So that would be, really, really shoot for getting the feel right. And a great way to do that is by slowing it down. So using a transcribe application, like Transcribe is the one that I use. It's great because you can slow things down and then really listen to them closely. Do that and really make sure you've got the feel right. And the goal is not to necessarily learn the song perfectly and then go out and play it in some cover band and blow people away or something like that. The goal is to internalize the style that's resonating with you, and then figure out what really makes that particular player tick. And if you really, really get the feel as well as the notes, and you get it and you internalize it, then when it happens. You can sense it when it's I don't quite have it, and then all of a sudden it locks in. You're like, oh my god, I get it. And with Van Halen, it's really interesting because he has such a unique style, and the phrasing's really difficult, but when you get it, it's there it is, I've got it, and it's the coolest thing. Just because it's then you've internalized it, and then maybe it becomes a part of your own musical DNA, that kind of thing. Morton says that he's really been digging these Q&A videos, and something I said in my 5th one really resonated with him about how we shouldn't degrade guitar playing into being some sort of sport. Go about soloing as a singer would sing, kind of approach guitar solos that way. He liked that a lot. Thank you very much, I appreciate that. He wants to know my opinion of Vox amps in general. He's got an old AC30 and he loves it. You know, the great thing about Vox style amps in general is that they really cut through a mix and they sit right in this great frequency for guitar. So I remember using an amp a number of years ago in a band. There was a big 100-watt head. It's funny because I use a 100-watt head now, but I used, you know, this 100-watt head years ago. Good sounding amp and everything like that. But a closed back 212 and that kind of thing. I got a Top Hat King Royale amp, I believe it was called, which is a Brian Gerhardt's take on the classic AC30 sort of circuit. Open back 212, that whole thing. And the bass player in the band, who's a really talented mixer producer guy now actually, and has done a lot of great stuff, so I really respect his opinion. But I remember back then him saying, wow, he goes, it's like you're louder but you're not as loud. And I thought that was an excellent point. AC30s just, you know, they only need to be 30 watts and they can be really penetratingly loud, actually, sometimes too much so, because they just sit right in those mids. So it's like a great place to use an AC30 is if you're in a band that is big, like there's a keyboard player, somebody playing Hammond or B3 or something, bass player, maybe another guitar player. AC30 really tends to, like, you know, just frequency wise, you'll slot right into a zone, and that can be a really good thing. Next question comes from Cody Kerrigan. He says he's going to music school soon. He wants to invest in some new gear. Basically, he's trying to get a rig that is super versatile. He likes to tweak tones, likes some mic amps 40 different ways. So he was thinking, you know, Axe Effects, something like that would work really good for him. But then he tried a matchless HC30 amp, and it just really amazing feel. And so he loved that. So there you go. That sort of references my earlier point, is that the Axe Effects is super fun because it does 20 million things and it does it really well. And then you can plug into an amp and go, oh my God, that feels really good. And so which way do I go? So it's like I choose to sort of go with all of it. But anyway, he's saying what would be a great rig, because he doesn't have like a ton of money to spend on gear, to get a portable, reliable, and logical setup that allows for lots of tweaking as well as very little tweaking. That's a funny question, Cody. Okay, so I'm building a board right now that's got the Helix on it, and because the Helix has loops in it for effects, I'm putting 3 pedals on there. So I've got a Keeley compressor, an Archer pedal, and a Starlight Fuzz from Crazy Tube Circuit. So I put those 3 on there. I put an external tuner as well as an Eventide H9 for any other thing that I could think of that maybe the Helix won't do or something. So yeah, Helix H9, 3 simple pedals and a tuner. That seems to be you know, it's going to be a really cool little board, I think. Sort of like a B board just to use, but it's so powerful because you can use it as an all-in-one modeling rig if you wanted to, because the Helix does that. Or, you know, I could use it with all the effects in front of an amp, kind of like on my big board, or just like on my big board, I could use 4-cable method with the Helix and run some stuff in the effects loop of the amp. That's how I'm designing this board. So watch out maybe for some photos and stuff like that of this board that I'm designing, because I think it's a really cool sort of what you're describing. You know, it's not cheap by any means, but you know, I guess at the end of the day, probably somewhere up around $2,000 or something like that is what the whole thing would cost. But that's not too bad for like a complete pedal board. Lots of you guys out there have spent at least that, if not more, on your boards, I am sure. Having said all that, if you're going to music school and you know you're going to be in a, who knows, like what sort of living environment you're going to be in, maybe low volume's an issue and you need to practice a lot and stuff, maybe the Axe Effects is great for you at that point, you know, because you can do Axe Effects, take it to gigs and use it direct if you want to, but you can also use it in a studio apartment if you want to and play through headphones, and the potential is there for massive tweaking, as you say, if that's what you're into. So look at the application and what your life's going to be like for the next couple of years and maybe make a decision. You can always get an amp down the road, but right now if you're at music school, maybe you're not even going to be gigging out that much, and then having an amp in like an apartment or something is impractical. Okay, last question for today. Brian Cole wants to know about miking. He's wondering if I could go over mic placement and speaker selection. So on an upcoming Tim and Pete's Guitar Show that should be up tomorrow actually, there's some stuff on miking in there you might want to check out that we go over. But beyond that, generally for distortion tones I gravitate towards Greenback style speakers. I just really love those. For cleaner sounds, if it's a box style sort of thing, I like the an Alico. And for cleaner sounds, if it's a closed back cabinet, I sort of prefer, if I have my pick, more of like a G12H30 style Celestion sound, which is why I use the Creambacks, the 75 watt version of the Celestion Creamback in my PT100 cabinets. I feel like the Celestion Creamback 75 is a good all-round speaker. It does nice clean sounds. It's got a good amount of sort of sparkling clear extended top end and deep lows, as compared to a Greenback, which they sound great overdriven, but they're a little dark, I find. A little sort of like flat sounding sometimes for clean sounds. They just kind of lay there a little bit. Whereas, the G12H30 style will give you like more of that Hendrixy thing, sort of more robust and clear, and just has this really cool sound for cleans. So that's it for kind of my favorite speakers. So beyond that, miking. So what I do generally is I take a 57, and if this is the speaker and you've got the dust cap in the middle of the speaker right there, I place a 57 just to the side of the dust cap. Okay, so that's the 12-inch speaker, dust cap, just to the side of it, and maybe an inch away from the roll cloth or the cabinet. Now, if you want to add a second microphone, a ribbon mic right in the middle can be really cool, or move it out a little bit if you want it darker, but ribbon mics are sort of inherently dark, and you can generally line them up right in the middle of the speaker, and it's going to be fine. And you just want to make sure both those mics are in phase, which means that they generally need to be kind of, I go into this more in the video that I was mentioning, the Tim and Pete's Guitar Show, how to get them in phase. But generally they just need to be like, sort of close to equidistant from the cabinet. You don't want to have one back a foot or two and then the other one close. You're going to blend those mics in, and you're going to get what sounds like comb filtering. It's like they're going to be a little out of phase with one another. Not totally out of phase, but somewhat out of phase. And you'll get that filtering kind of sound. So, yeah, that's it pretty much. All right, thanks for watching, and please hit subscribe if you haven't come back and see me for more videos real soon. I am Pete Thorn, over and out.